Good morning. This morning I'm taking you on a kind of interesting and varied journey. I can't call it a trail. Right now I'm walking on a logging road, and this leads to a large muskeg, and then we have to cross a stream to get to another big muskeg. And it's sunny this morning, so I like to go to these nice open areas where we can get some sun and some light and not be in this dark, dense woods. It's been unusually dry here in Ketchikan the last couple of weeks. If you live in a place that gets 160 inches of rain annually, you appreciate these bright, dry days. We're heading into fall, which is usually our worst, rainiest weather, so we're enjoying the last of it. Today, I'm going to do a little painting with my acrylic gouache, so I hope you enjoy seeing if that turns out, how it turns out. My name is Danelle. If you're new here, if you're returning, welcome back. I'm super happy that you're here. I really enjoy sharing our beautiful rainforest with you, the Tongass National Forest. So let's get going down this road. This road, I'll show you where it actually leads. Most of our logging roads are not maintained this well, but this road leads to a really popular trailhead, so it's fairly well maintained. This morning, as usual, I have my dogs with me. There's Edna on the left, Audrey in the middle, Henry, my youngest, is up there. All three border collies, all three belated. And then there's my son's little chihuahua up there, Geddy, who is named after Geddy Lee of the band Rush, which our family's always been a big fan of. So this road leads to a trailhead right up there, and then you can take about a 1 hour, quite vertical hike up to that mountain there, which is called Dude Mountain. It has spectacular views. It's a beautiful, beautiful hike. The trail's in pretty bad condition, but I'd like to do an art vlog there, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoy these kind of videos where I get you into the great outdoors here in Southeast Alaska, consider subscribing, joining our community. It's been really fun sharing my art and my beautiful home with you all. So that would be awesome to have you join. I really love hearing the comments, the advice, other people's art experiences. So this has been a really fun journey, and glad you're here. Okay, so here is where we make our turn to go down into the first muskeg. It's a good example of a muskeg. It's open and kind of shrubby, and there's really no trail. I guess we'd have to call this a trek. But I've done this many times over the years, so off we go. I've been an artist for really since I was a kid, like most of us, but I started formally learning to paint when I was a student at Oregon State University. I actually started as a veterinary medicine student, but I quickly changed my major to art and loved school a lot more after I switched to what I truly love. Not that I don't love animals, obviously, but I also went on an exchange program to Aberdeen, Scotland. Sorry, Scottish people, I don't say Aberdeen quite as beautifully as you do. I get close sometimes to Aberdeen. But Grey School of Art is where I really had the freedom and the mentorship to learn oil painting. And just in this year, after 40 years or so of just oil painting, mostly large paintings, I've been experimenting with different mediums, watercolor and gouache, acrylic gouache mostly. It's very portable. It's a little easier to take out on my hikes. Okay, so we're at our second, this is our second big turn that we make in this track. Definitely not a trail. You can see maybe this track here. It's about as clear as this trail ever gets. There is another logging road over here. It's called White River Road, and that leads to a lot of smaller logging roads that branch off. It leads to a tour business called Adventure View, which is pretty awesome. That's where my daughter used to work. They have these off-road ATVs that people can go on. You should check that out at adventureview.com. They have an Instagram page too. It's a pretty cool business. They also have little Zodiac boats. You can go out and see whales and seals and sea lions and all kinds of wildlife. So that's pretty fun. It's quite a long drive out there though. I can hear some buses and tour vehicles driving by now. And here is our big third turn. And we're almost at the creek. So let's get going. Come along. And here we are at the creek, which is usually about 3 times higher than this. Normally I would need to carry the Chihuahua across because he does not appreciate water sports. But today it's quite low, so that's much easier. Sometimes it almost goes over my boots. So here we are in this huge, beautiful muskeg. We tend to just call this one the Big White River muskeg. And it is an unusually large muskeg. So I did a painting, a small painting here not long ago that I showed on one of my, I think it was my last art tour video. I'll put a card up above for that. I did 2 paintings here. The light wasn't particularly good, so I'm hoping it's better this morning. It wasn't at a very good angle when we were here. We were here in the middle of the afternoon. So we'll see what I can find that will be interesting to paint and that won't take too long. It's a pretty small painting. I just bring a little piece of paper. I'll show you the supplies that I brought. Here's what we're working with. This is where I usually sit. A lot of people have used this spot, so the muskeg gets damaged easily, so if people use a spot very much, it loses all of its vegetation. What you doing, Henry? What you doing, Gaddy? You kicking? So here's some choices. Not pointed at the sky so we can see better. Edna and Audrey. They want me to throw the ball. So The last time I was here, I painted that little island of trees back there first, and then I painted a broader view of the whole thing. So it might be kind of fun to paint that over there. I don't know if I can zoom in a little more. There we go. There's those dead trees that are covered with lichen. Maybe focus on those. I don't know if I should do a broad view and include those misty bluish mountains. Let's see. All right, I'll show you the supplies I brought and get set up. Always got to throw the ball for the dogs first. The collies have their priorities. The Chihuahua is tied up over here to a tree because he incessantly harasses and barks at my youngest border collie, Henry, who always, we call it docking. He always comes and lies under my chair to wait for the ball to be thrown. It's been a habit since he was just a little puppy. So I always throw the ball a couple times first, make them happy. And today's supplies are, I made this little box to carry my, what will be a fairly wet painting because I have the acrylic gouache today and it doesn't tend to dry completely, and I've had a couple disasters with the paint getting destroyed on the way home. So I made that little box out of an old, there was a computer keyboard that was in there. I don't know if you've seen a video where I talked about where I first started learning art and had the time and the headspace to really have fun drawing and learning to draw is when my family moved onto a sailboat in 1977. We lived on the sailboat for 5 years, and my dad liked solitude, so we would usually spend our time anchored out in some remote cove somewhere. So I had a lot of time to draw and write poetry and just indulge in creativity. Being a very introverted, I actually enjoyed that solitude. I didn't miss the hubbub of going to a high school. It was interesting when my kids were in high school to see what going to high school was really like. I had no idea what a prom was like or what a big graduation ceremony was like. When we sailed from Seattle to Ketchikan, that's how I got here. I graduated by simply driving to the post office and picking up my diploma from the University of Nebraska Extension Division, which was one of the few homeschool programs available back then for homeschoolers. I just picked up my diploma, and that was the extent of my graduation ceremony. But I do appreciate that I had a lot of time to draw and just be lost in creativity when we lived on the boat. I loved sailboats, so that was lucky. So I actually liked living on the sailboat. I used to draw sailboats incessantly, and I even wrote poems about sailboats. So that was my teenagerhood. And about 5 years after I moved off of the boat, my dad was still living on the boat. We all moved off the boat except for my dad, but about 5 years later, he was sailing from Mexico to Seattle, and he stopped in Hawaii and said that he would kind of like company because he'd been sailing by himself so much. So I flew to Hawaii and I sailed with him in 1988 from Hawaii to Seattle. Most of the time we were becalmed, so it took much longer than we had anticipated. And so that was quite the adventure. I had forgotten that I get seasick, so I spent the first week immobile in bed. It was, I had just bought an art store. I thought, oh, we'll only be gone for a couple weeks, it'll be fine. We ended up taking 6 weeks to make that journey because we had so little wind. And then to make it worse, we got in a huge storm in the middle of the night, which destroyed one of our sails. We had 3 sails. It was a cutter rig. Destroyed one of our sails. So when the storm stopped, we had fewer sails and we went even slower. Anyway, this is my little acrylic gouache setup. I use these little bead containers that I got at Walmart. It's been working pretty well. I try to keep it damp so the acrylic gouache doesn't get too dried out. Being a type of acrylic paint, it can get pretty plasticky and dried out. So I try to keep it damp, and it's actually been working pretty well. The colors I like to use, I have yellow ochre, lemon yellow, and then I have some scarlet red and some orange sort of in the same container, which works pretty well. And then I have titanium white, I have a purple, I also carry the only really dark that I have, which is Prussian blue, with me. I also carry a little bit of extra titanium white in here. I have ultramarine blue, sky blue, and burnt sienna. So that's what we got to work with. Gonna throw the ball for the dogs one more time before I start. Also critical, tea. Gotta have my morning tea. This is a Bengal spice, which I've really been enjoying. One more ball throw for the dogs. Getting warm out here, time to take off my hat. Excuse the excuse the hat hair. Get kind of hot and sweaty walking across the muskegs. They're so soft, it's like walking on sand. So you could probably tell from my breathing earlier, it's more work than one would expect to walk across a muskeg. Oh, it's getting so sunny. Carry these two brushes. One smallish flat made by Artify. I have no idea what those bristles are made out of, but it was a gift and it's been working pretty well. And then this tiny little filbert, a size 0 from Rosemary and Company. And these two do a pretty good job out here in the field. I'm just gonna stuff them right here. I use my pencil case to put my taped up paper on. The tape kind of stabilizes it and makes a nice little frame when I'm done. The sun is a little blinding. It might be hard to do those trees because I have to look straight into the sun. So I might switch my focus to one of these trees over here. Maybe just do that same tree island again, or maybe do this one. Sometimes when you're out in the field, you kind of have to make your decisions on the fly. I have learned the hard way that trying to paint while looking into the sun, I don't have an umbrella, anything. It's kind of an interesting thing that we live in a rainforest that gets 160 inches average of rainfall a year, but hardly anybody here owns or uses umbrellas. If we see someone with an umbrella, we assume that person is a tourist. And I think it's just because it rains so much, so frequently, that carrying an umbrella 95% of your life would just be too annoying. So we just wear raincoats, or sometimes if it's not, we get kind of a misty rain. It's not really a downpour kind of rain usually. So just wearing a hoodie or, anything with just a hood, or just not worrying about it. If you're out doing errands, you're not gonna walk very far anyway across the parking lot. So we don't really own umbrellas, but I'm thinking it might be nice to have something to, when I'm out in the sun, actually, to help shade the glare of the sun. All right, here's my little water cup. It's just one of these little ones with a clip. The clip is just annoying. I don't have anything to clip it on. I need to cut that off. I keep saying that, and then I keep not doing it. And then paper towels, essential. And here is my view. It's actually a little bit tempting to do Edna, the dog in front. It'd be kind of fun to do just the dogs with that cute little tree that's right behind it. That's a little mountain hemlock tree. Instead of doing the broad view. I've done the broad view a couple of times, but that's kind of adorable. Maybe I could do that. I'll start with my larger brush, going with kind of a impressionist alla prima approach. Using your larger brush, I actually could use an even bigger brush than this. I'm going to try to not get lost in the details here. Go through a lot of yellows and blues because it's so green here. All right, let's get these. Just a lot of green back there. So let's focus on that cute little tree. Get that a little darker. darks in first. That's one reason I like acrylic gouache over watercolor. It's more like oil paint, which I'm used to putting in the darks first. It is so quiet out here. Got some background in there. Let's get those crazy dogs sketched in. Okay, so the trunk of the tree is going to come down about here. So the first dog is here. Fortunately, they sit very still because they're border collies. They get stuck in herding mode when they're waiting for the ball. This is very rough, but I'm just gonna sketch in the basics. There's Audrey. Let's sketch in Edna. Her tail is back here. And her ear is actually really close to. Let's get a little darker color for her other ear. Okay, I think that's about all I'm going to do on this painting. I don't have my reading glasses on, so I probably will have to perfect a few details, maybe not perfect them, but work on to some of the smaller details when I can see up close a little better. So that's my scene. It's time to head back home. I'll take the creek route, so I'll show you a little bit of that on the way back. So hope the painting was fun to watch. Maybe I learned a few things. I tried to get in those darks first, tried to make a little bit of a plan. It's hard to have a lot of time for making a plan here, but I'm pretty happy with trying to do the dogs. That was different and definitely more challenging. You can make little mistakes or change stuff around in landscapes, but when you're painting people or dogs or anything like that, they kind of need to look a little bit like what they are. You can't just change things around. So that adds a little bit to the challenge so that they actually look like dogs and not just a couple of black potatoes sitting out there. All right, let's get packed up and we'll head down the creek. Did I mention that Chihuahuas are not water sport dogs? What do you think, Geddy? We're not sure if Geddy is all Chihuahua. We adopted him when he was about 5 years old, after he had been through a couple of homes and they couldn't really handle him. He is actually very athletic. He can hike 7 or 8 hours up in the mountains and has done so many times with my son, who is his rightful owner. My son works a tourism job though, where he has to work early most summer mornings. So Geddy comes with me, and the only thing he isn't terribly brave about is water. So I'm giving him an airlift while we traverse this stream. And here's where we get back into the muskeg. Cross here, go up there, then we'll be almost back to the car. Gotta get my Chihuahua. Come here. Come here, little buddy. Very trusting of him to let me carry him across the water. He was a little shaky earlier, but this is where we're going today. Oh boy. Can you make it, Eds? Good girl. Hikes like this are why I got a waterproof action camera instead of just a regular vlogging camera. I have put this camera through its paces. Actually had to replace it once because it fell onto off of its tripod onto a gravel road and cracked the front viewing screen. So this camera has been awesome. It doesn't have the cute kind of blurred background like some of the other, like the Osmo Pocket. Anyway, been having fun. So awesome to have you here with me. If you want to see more outdoor Southeast Alaska art vlogging videos, check out this playlist up here. Stay creative and have fun.